All right, this is the mastery check for 6.2, which is where we are asked to calculate a value in a data set when we are given the mean of that data set. So let's look at number 1. The heights of several bean plants in a biology laboratory are listed below. If the average bean plant height is 8 inches, how tall is the bean plant labeled D? So think about what that question is asking. First, it says the average bean height, the average bean height is 8 inches. We know the average, but we don't know how tall is bean plant D. We're looking for this value right here when the average of these heights is equal to 8. So what we need to do is kind of work through this process based on what we know about how you calculate average. We know that average is the same thing as mean, and what we do is we add up all of the bean plant heights and then divide by how many bean plant heights there are, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go ahead and add up the numbers that I do have. So let's add up 12 plus 7 plus 5 plus 11. That gives me 6, 13, and 15. So I have 35. So I know that these 4 bean plants, the sum of their heights is 35. And that after I get the sum of those 4, I would still need to add in this last bean plant height. So I'm going to call that just D, because it is bean plant D. And I know that when I have that sum, after I have added those, I would divide that amount by 5. And I want that to be equal to this average height of 8. So I'm going to say, when I add all of these things together, all of these heights, and I divide by 5, that's how you find the mean, and it should be equal to 8. All right, so now I have an equation, and I need to solve it to find out my unknown. I need to find D. So remember, when you're solving an equation, you're trying to get that unknown, that variable, by itself on one side of the equation. So I need to undo this divided by 5 right here. Notice these parentheses make this different than a date-night equation because there are parentheses separating my variable in this divided by 5, so I can't follow the normal steps of date-night. I need to first get rid of this divide by 5 because it's outside of the parentheses. So to undo the divided by 5, I'm going to do its inverse, or its opposite. I'm going to multiply by 5, and that's going to get rid of this for me, but I have to do it to both sides of the equation. So now after I've done that, my times 5 got rid of this over here, so I just have 35 plus D left on this side. Over here I have 8 times 5, which is 40. Okay, now to get D by itself, I have to undo the added 35, so I'm going to subtract 35 from both sides. And I find out that D is equal to 5 inches. So there's my answer. And to check it, I could put 5 back here, and I could find the average of these 5 numbers and see if it is in fact 8. And if it is, I did my math correctly. Let's look at number 2. Carlos set a New Year's resolution of exercising for an average of 30 minutes every day. So far this week, he has exercised 40 minutes, 24 minutes, 0 minutes, 42 minutes, 35 minutes, and 21 minutes. How many minutes will he need to exercise today in order to meet his goal this week? So again, we know that we want an average of 30 minutes, and we're trying to figure out how many minutes will he need to exercise today, the last number in the set, to meet that average. So I'm going to do the same thing. If I were finding the average of how long he exercised each day, I would add up all of my values. So 40, 24, 0, 42, 35, and 21. So I have 6, 8, 12, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 14, 15, 16. So 162 minutes in the first 6 days of the week, plus x, however many minutes he exercises on today, when I find that sum of all the numbers in my set, I have to divide by how many numbers there are to find the average. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers here. Plus, we're going to add one more number for how much he does today. So I'll divide by 7. And we want that average to be 30 minutes. So I'm going to say it equals 30. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did to solve this equation as I did over here. I'm going to first get rid of this divided by 7 by multiplying both sides of my equation by 7. Okay, on this side, the times 7 will cancel out the divided by 7, so I'm just left with 162 plus x. And over here I have 30 times 7, which is 210. Now I just need to get rid of this plus 162 so I can get x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 162, doing the opposite of that plus 162. So over here that's going to get rid of it for me, and I'm left with just x equals 210 minus 162. I'm going to have to do some borrowing, turn that to a 1, which makes this 11, and then turn that to a 10, which makes this 10. 10 minus 2 is 8, 10 minus 6 is 4, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So x is 48 minutes. Carlos has to exercise today to meet that average of 30 minutes each day during the week. Oops.